Hey everybody, it's Brandon and I'm back with another real discussion. So this is going to be a quick one. I just kind of want to talk to you guys. I want us to think for a second. Because despite what the media tells you, the Black Lives Matter movement is pretty useless. And what do I mean by that? Well, the idea being perpetrated is that it's to protest police killings of black people, and we've already done the numbers. That really doesn't happen very often. The numbers don't support that at all. If you don't believe me, check out one of my other videos about it. I'm not going to pull up all the data again, but the amount of people being killed is really, really, really small. But there's also the idea of, black people somehow not having the opportunity, and it's about fighting systemic racism, which again is kind of a misnomer, because if you think about it, what can't you do, right? So the Civil Rights Acts and there's voter registration acts, and there's different laws to make the things that people are complaining about illegal, which is why they don't happen anymore. Now you can say, well, we're still feeling the effects of when it was there, and that's true, but that has nothing at all to do with anything. It's already illegal. So workplace discrimination, illegal. Redlining, illegal. Most predatory lending practices and things like that, illegal. In fact, not only is it illegal, they have different scholarships and programs and affirmative action that give a little bit of a helping hand, not much, but a little bit, to help ease some of the damage of that. But what people have to realize is that being equal doesn't mean you have what someone else has. Like, there's a false dichotomy with that. That's not true. Being equal means is that there's no one actively trying to destroy you. It don't mean they're helping you. It means they're not actively trying to sabotage you. So when you go back to the 60s and you even look at the stuff that you're sharing, all of that was about active sabotage. Hey, we're going to go in the middle of the night, we're going to round up and kill people. We're going to intimidate people who are trying to vote. We're going to burn down these things. We're going to do terror campaigns. We're going to make sure they're isolated. We're not going to allow them in schools. We're not going to treat them like people. Like, that's someone actively going to sabotage you, and I'm happy to say it doesn't happen anymore. Not at the system level. All of that stuff is illegal. Right? Now, it's on us to take the fact that no one's there, the ceiling's been removed, and make the most of it. Like every other immigrant group that has come in, who's come here with nothing and had to start from the bottom, not even speaking the language, and had to slowly make their way up over a few generations, that's the same thing we got to do. And we're not arguing if that's fair or not fair, considering how long we've been here. That's just the reality of the situation. So when you think about it, what's the point, right, of Black Lives Matter? And the interesting thing about Black Lives Matter is that they're saying something that pretty much everyone agrees with, right? It's like, you should breathe air. Black Lives Matter. Cool. That's why it's so easy for people to be like, yeah, Black Lives Matter. Like, I don't have an argument against that. The most you actually see is people being petty saying all lives matter, right? And then that's the thing. Oh, like your tree's on fire. But if you think about it, if you really think about all lives matter, it's petty. But black lives are included in the all, right? So while they're being petty, they're still actually agreeing with you that Black Lives Matter. Like, all these companies, all these people doing the donut, and you know what? That's all hunky-dory and beautiful. But the reality of the situation is like you have people protesting, you have people rioting for the rights that they already have. For things to be illegal that they already have. Even police shootings. And we can talk about the numbers or anything and everything. But here's what happens when someone is shot by the police, right? Especially nowadays. The attorney general, the mayor, they immediately do an investigation. The FBI does an investigation, especially when it's a potential hate crime. It gets such media focus that none of it gets swept under the rug. Now, you may not agree with the reality of the investigation. You may not agree with it, but quite frankly, you're not going to always get your way. Like, you're not entitled to that. You're entitled for when it happens for someone to check into it and for an investigation to happen. You don't have to agree with it, and that's like any other crime that happens in this country. If they can't prove it, sometimes justice isn't done. That's the reality of living with people in a society. But even then, like, it's taken seriously, right? And so what the idea comes in is like, what are you fighting for, right? You're just kind of useless in your thing. I mean, I guess it's nice people are venting their frustration, but there's nothing really for them to be able to accomplish because they already have it. And that's why you actually see the fact, Black Lives Matter, because there's no central leadership. That's why you hear them throw all these different things in there, because they don't really have a goal, because they already have everything that they're actually wanting. Because the reality is that at the system level, which is the only thing you can change, there's nothing to change, because there's already laws, there's already processes and stuff in place to investigate things. And you can say, well, it wasn't like that before Black Lives Matter started. I'm not going to argue about that. Like, I just don't feel like it. But even then, it's been like this for 5 years. So I just, like, what are we asking for now? The protests and riots are happening now, not back then. So what is the ultimate goal that people are looking to have? Right? Like, that is the reality, and that's why Black Lives Matter is kind of useless. You have people say, man, well, the goal is to teach people to be anti-racist. But you know what? One, most of y'all are being racist when you say anti-racist. Because, again, think about how racist it is to think immediately when something happens that it's because that person has hate in their heart and not anything else. You make the assumption because that person is white that they're racist, which is racist. And if you know it's racist, because if you flip it, and I say, well, you know, I think because you're black, you're a criminal. But if you think about the phrase anti-racist, if you polled 1,000 people, probably 999 of them are going to say being racist is wrong. So when you say anti-racist, you're not actually saying anything, right? And that's how you know we proponent. Like, they had to change the definition of racism to try to fit the narrative because it doesn't exist the way people feel it does. And most of the animosity and the things that you're saying, they're talking about stuff that happened in the past that's already been addressed, that's already had the laws changed, and the people to come out and say this was wrong. So Black Lives Matter is useless. Go home. Take care of your families. Build your wealth. Open a business. Start investing. Build your credit. Like, those are the things that you can focus on. Not this ridiculous Black Lives Matter, or as I like to say, Black Lives Matter when killed by a white person. That's probably the best title for the movement. Because they don't protest the other way around. So I say everybody stay home. Maybe do a little bit more research on what you wanting, and then come back and say, you know what, thank y'all for putting up with this foolishness. Alright? Peace.